Imagine entire cities filled with thousands of people, thriving markets, and bustling streets. Then suddenly, complete silence. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just empty homes with meals still sitting on tables. Tonight, we're diving into 5 ancient civilizations that didn't gradually decline or get conquered. They simply vanished without a trace, leaving behind mysteries that still haunt archaeologists today. 4,000 years ago, one of humanity's greatest civilizations simply vanished without a trace. What could make millions of people abandon everything they had built and walk away forever? Across what is now Pakistan and northwest India, an ancient civilization once thrived on a scale that dwarfed its contemporaries. Stretching across 1.5 million square kilometers, the Indus Valley civilization was a marvel of human achievement. Yet around 1900 BCE, something happened that defies explanation. In what appears to have been a coordinated exodus, the entire population abandoned their cities, their homes, their lives, leaving behind only silence. The cities they left behind tell a story of remarkable sophistication. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro reveal streets laid out in perfect grids, drainage systems more advanced than those found in many modern cities, and multi-story buildings that housed a thriving population. These were not primitive settlements, but the pinnacle of Bronze Age urban planning. Yet for all their advancement, the people of the Indus Valley left behind no temples, no palaces, no monuments to kings or gods. And most mysteriously of all, no written records that might explain what happened to them. Archaeologists have searched for the usual suspects that bring civilizations to their knees. War leaves scars on bones and burns on buildings, but none were found. Natural disasters leave geological evidence, diseases leave mass graves, invasions leave foreign artifacts. Yet the archaeological record shows none of these catastrophic signatures. The Indus Valley people didn't flee in terror or perish in tragedy. They simply chose to leave, as if responding to some collective decision that history has forgotten. Scattered throughout the abandoned cities, archaeologists have discovered thousands of small seals and pottery fragments bearing an undeciphered script. These symbols, etched in stone and clay, may hold the answers to one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. What message did they leave behind? Was it a warning, an explanation, or perhaps instructions for those who might one day return? The script remains stubbornly silent, guarding its secrets across the millennia. Perhaps most chilling of all is what the people left behind in their final moments. Jewelry still sits in homes, tools remain where they were last used, and construction projects stand frozen in time, half-finished. It's as if the entire population received the same mysterious signal and simply walked away from everything they had ever known. They took nothing with them, left no forwarding address, and disappeared into history. In the ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, the wind still whispers through empty streets that once echoed with the voices of millions. What did they know that we don't? And perhaps more unsettling still, what were they running from that was worth abandoning the greatest civilization the ancient world had ever seen? In the sandstone cliffs of Mesa Verde, something extraordinary happened in 1300 CE. An entire civilization simply vanished. For 7 centuries, the ancestral Puebloans had carved their lives into the impossible. Their cliff dwellings clung to vertical rock faces like ancient secrets etched in stone, elaborate architectural marvels that defied both gravity and explanation. Generation after generation had called these precarious sanctuaries home, building upward and inward into the very bones of the earth. Then, without warning, the construction stopped. The voices fell silent. When modern archaeologists first entered these abandoned dwellings, they found something deeply unsettling. Rooms frozen in time as if their inhabitants had stepped out for a moment and simply never returned. Pottery sat half-finished on workbenches, tools lay scattered where they had been dropped. Personal belongings remained carefully arranged, waiting for owners who would never come back. Outside these ghostly homes, the evidence of abandonment grew even more mysterious. Intricate irrigation systems that had sustained a thriving agricultural society for centuries lay neglected, their carefully maintained channels slowly filling with sand. Crop terraces that had fed thousands were left to return to wild grass and sage. It was as if an entire way of life had been deliberately walked away from, left to the mercy of time and weather. Perhaps most haunting of all were the ceremonial spaces, the tower structures reaching toward the sky, and the sacred kivas buried deep in the earth. These ritual chambers told a story of spiritual practices abruptly halted, ceremonies interrupted mid-ritual as if the very gods themselves had called their people elsewhere. The silence in these spaces feels different, heavier, as though it still holds the weight of unfinished prayers. Local Native American tribes have their own understanding of what happened to the ancient ones. Their oral traditions speak of a people who didn't simply leave, they transcended, disappearing into the spirit world itself. The legends whisper of voices carried on the desert wind, of shadows that still move through the empty cliff dwellings when the moon is dark. 700 years later, Mesa Verde keeps its secrets well. But sometimes, when the wind moves through those abandoned rooms, one has to wonder, are we truly alone among these ancient stones, or are we simply unable to see who else might still be there? What force could silence an entire civilization overnight, leaving behind only empty palaces and the echo of forgotten voices? In the shadow of Greece's ancient hills, the Mycenaeans built a world that would echo through eternity. This was the legendary civilization that breathed life into Homer's tales, the culture behind the warriors who sailed to Troy, the kings who ruled from golden thrones. For centuries they commanded respect across the Mediterranean, their bronze weapons glinting in the sun as their ships carved paths through distant waters. But around 1200 BCE, during what historians now call the Bronze Age collapse, something went terribly wrong. The evidence of their sudden disappearance lies scattered across the Greek landscape like pieces of a shattered mirror. At Pylos, Mycenae, and Tyrrhenes, massive palatial complexes that once buzzed with activity stand as hollow monuments to abandonment. These weren't just buildings, they were the beating hearts of entire kingdoms, strategically positioned to control trade routes and command territories. Yet despite their obvious importance, despite their seemingly impregnable walls, they were abandoned completely. No one ever returned to reclaim these seats of power. Perhaps most unsettling is what the archaeologists found within these silent halls. Linear B tablets, the administrative records that tracked everything from livestock to luxury goods, simply stop appearing in the archaeological record. Not gradually, as one might expect from a slow decline, but abruptly, as if the scribes had set down their styluses mid-sentence and walked away forever. Complex bureaucratic systems that had functioned for generations vanished without a trace, taking with them the advanced metalworking techniques and vast trade networks that had connected the Mycenaeans to civilizations across the known world. The physical evidence tells an even more disturbing story. Fire, that ancient destroyer of civilizations, swept through many of these sites simultaneously. Layers of ash and charred debris mark the end of the Mycenaean world, but the flames themselves refuse to reveal their origin. Were these the fires of foreign invaders, torching palaces as they conquered, the desperate blazes of internal revolt as subjects turned against their rulers? Or perhaps something else entirely, natural disasters that struck with such devastating precision that entire administrative systems crumbled in their wake? The Mycenaeans left us their greatest mystery in their very silence. A civilization sophisticated enough to inspire the greatest epics of the ancient world, yet unable to leave behind even a whisper of explanation for their own demise. In the end, perhaps the most chilling question isn't what destroyed the Mycenaeans, but whether the same unknown force that erased them so completely might still be waiting in the shadows of history, patient and unseen. Deep in the Jordanian desert, carved faces stare from rose-red cliffs, their stone eyes holding secrets of a vanished civilization that simply disappeared. The Nabataeans were masters of the impossible. For centuries, they transformed the harsh Arabian desert into their kingdom, controlling the most lucrative trade routes of the ancient world. Caravans laden with frankincense, myrrh, and silk passed through their hands, making them wealthy beyond measure. Their capital, Petra, became a wonder carved from living rock, a testament to human ingenuity in one of Earth's most unforgiving landscapes. What made their survival truly remarkable was their mastery over water itself. Hidden beneath Petra's magnificent facades lay an intricate network of cisterns, channels, and reservoirs that could sustain thousands of inhabitants in the desert's embrace. They had solved the riddle that claimed countless others: how to thrive where water was more precious than gold. Every drop of precious rainfall was captured, channeled, and stored with engineering precision that rivals modern systems. Yet by 700 KE, something had gone terribly wrong. The great city that had bustled with merchants from across the known world fell silent. The elaborate tombs and temples carved with such care into the cliff faces showed no signs of gradual decline, no evidence of war, plague, or slow economic collapse. Instead, the archaeological record reveals something far more unsettling: a thriving metropolis that was simply abandoned, as if its inhabitants had vanished overnight. The transition from prosperity to emptiness happened with shocking speed. Within mere decades, a commercial hub that had welcomed traders from Rome, India, and beyond became a ghost city. The sophisticated water systems that had sustained life for generations were left to dry up, unused and forgotten. It was as if the very knowledge of their operation had been erased, along with the people who built them. Perhaps most chilling of all are the Arabic inscriptions discovered among the ruins, writings that speak of jinn, powerful spirits that supposedly drove the inhabitants from their stone city. Local legends whisper that these supernatural forces still guard Petra's secrets, ensuring that some mysteries remain buried in the desert sand. Today, those carved faces continue their eternal vigil, watching over empty corridors where thousands once walked. But one must wonder, are they merely artistic remnants of a lost civilization, or sentinels left behind to warn us that some places are meant to remain abandoned? Deep in the jungles of Cambodia, massive stone faces emerge from curtains of vines, watching over a civilization that simply vanished. What force could make over 1 million people abandon the most magnificent city the world had ever seen? In its prime, Angkor was a marvel that defied imagination. Stretching across 400 square miles, this sprawling metropolis housed more than 1 million souls, making it the largest pre-industrial city on Earth. At its heart stood Angkor Wat and countless other temple complexes, their intricate spires reaching toward the heavens like stone prayers frozen in time. The genius of Angkor lay not just in its temples, but in the invisible arteries that kept it alive. An elaborate network of canals, reservoirs, and hydraulic systems channeled water across the landscape, transforming jungle into paradise. These engineering marvels supported vast rice paddies and ornate water gardens, sustaining a population that wouldn't be matched by any city until the Industrial Revolution. Then, around 1431 CE, something went catastrophically wrong. The great city began to empty, its inhabitants fleeing into the jungle they had once conquered. The abandonment was so sudden, so complete, that sophisticated water systems were left to crumble mid-operation. Temples that had echoed with prayers fell, silent as roots, and vines began their relentless advance, reclaiming stone by stone what humans had carved from the wilderness. History offers no explanation for this mass exodus. No chronicles record plague, invasion, or natural disaster severe enough to drive an entire civilization from their sacred home. The silence in the historical record is as haunting as the empty temples themselves, leaving only questions echoing through abandoned corridors. Local whispers, however, tell a different story. Ancient voices speak of forest spirits grown angry at humanity's arrogance, of cursed kings who offended the natural order. Some believe Angkor never truly disappeared at all, that it continues to exist in a parallel realm, its streets still bustling with phantom residents. They say the city reveals itself only to those deemed worthy, while others remain forever lost in ordinary jungle, seeing nothing but trees where a great civilization once stood. Today, as archaeologists carefully peel away centuries of jungle growth, one can't help but wonder, did the people of Angkor flee from something, or were they taken? And in the deepest parts of the forest, where few dare to venture due the stone faces still watch over secrets too terrible for history to record. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you found this video interesting, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos.